بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So today we are starting Surah Jumm'ah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And today is the day of Jumm'ah, alhamdulillah, and it is such a big blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to a Muslim ummah, that it is a day where we can take a break from all our duties and focus on our spiritual elevation. And if you look at the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the Jumm'ah and the things which are recommended on it, it's a preparation and a break for us to take a physical and mental and spiritual break and to focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even for a brief moment in time, and for the community to congregate, to come together. And every religion has its day of worship and rest, and ours is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us Jumm'ah, and there is a lot of fadila explained in the hadith about this day. Alhamdulillah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed a surah mentioning it too, and this is Surah Jumm'ah. Even though the whole of the 11 verses of this surah don't focus on the Jumm'ah itself, however, it's been mentioned in this surah, so the name has been taken from the verse which has been mentioned. And this is the 62nd surah of the Qur'an. So Surah Jumm'ah, it means a Friday congregation. And this is when Muslims congregate, they come together and they pray to worship Allah. And this name has been taken from the verse 9 of this surah, which we're going to study as well, inshallah. And even though in this surah, the injunctions of the Friday Jama'ah prayer have been given, yet the Jumm'ah is not the title of this subject matter as a whole. But other symbolic names that we have of the surahs. Now, the period of revelation of the first section from 1 to 8 is probably the 7th year after Hijrah, so it's a Medinan surah, and it was sent down on the occasion of the conquest of Khaybar or soon after it. So these were the small battles that the Prophet was having. And according to Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, and Nasai, on the authority of Abu Hurairah and other companions, he and other companions were sitting in the Prophet's assembly when these verses were revealed. And Abu Hurairah, it is confirmed historically that he entered Islam after the truce of Hudaybiyah, before the conquest of Khaybar. And so it's possible because of this they date it to this time. And according to Ibn Hisham in Muharram, and according to Ibn Sa'd is Jamadil Awal, 7th year of Hijrah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent these verses addressing the Jews, because in this surah you'll see that there's an address to the Jews when their last stronghold had fallen to Muslims. And if you've read the Medinan history, and this is why studying the Seerah is so important, that when you look at the Seerah, you'll see that the Prophet struggled a lot in establishing the Islamic State in Medina. And many of the obstacles were the Jewish settlements that were in and around Medina. So it was up to about 7 to 8 Hijri when these strongholds eventually fell. And so these verses are coming down, these first verses of Surah Jumm'ah, to address them and what was happening at the time. And the second section is from verse 9 to 11. They were sent out after the migration. So those verses came before, when the Prophet established the Friday congregational prayer on the 5th day after his arrival at Medina. So the Prophet, after he arrived in Medina, he established the Friday prayer. And this is when, the incident that took place, if you look at a certain caravan came and all the people left to go and get food from the caravan, and they left the Prophet in the masjid with only a handful of people. And so these verses came down to tell them about the etiquettes of Jummah as well. So first of all, the theme of the first verses are going to be different, and then we'll go down to what Allah is talking about in the Jummah, about the Jummah. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The verses start with يُسَبِّحُ لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ الْمَلِكِ الْقُدُّوسِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَكِيمِ. So يُسَبِّحُ praises him. That's a word-to-word translation that praises him everything. So Allah, everything praises Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever is in the heavens and the earth. And he is the sovereign, the king. Al-Malik means the king, he is the king. Al-Quddus, the most pure. Al-Aziz, the mighty. And Hakim is the wise. So Allah, everything in the heavens and the earth is praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the king, he's the most pure, the mighty, and the wise. This is the first verse of the Surah Jumm'ah. And the second verse is هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسول منهم يتلو عليهم آياته. And he is the one who sent Ba'atha. He sent to them an unlettered, Ummi means an unlettered prophet. So from you sent among the unlettered nation a holy prophet from themselves. So the people were unlettered, and he sent a prophet to them who is from them, who is unlettered too. Yatlu alayhim ayatihi, who recites his, meaning Allah's verses to them. Wa yuzakkihim, and he purifies them. He purifies their hearts. وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ, and he teaches them the book and the wisdom, even though إِنْ كَانُوا مِنْ قَبْلُ لَفِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ, even though without doubt they were in clear deviation before this. So Allah SWT in this second verse is saying that Allah sent a prophet to the unlettered people from amongst themselves, who recites verses unto them. So first he comes as a prophet and teaches them, and then he purifies them. He purifies their hearts from so much evil that they were doing. So the Prophet ﷺ comes and he purifies them. وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ, and he teaches them the book, وَالْحِكْمَةَ, and wisdom. And this is all contained in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, even though even though they were in clear deviation before this. So this verse is telling them that he sent down the Prophet, and these are his functions. That first of all, that he recites the verses unto them. So he gives them the knowledge of the verses of the Qur'an. Then he purifies their hearts. So the people their hearts were full of so much evil, and the Prophet had to do so much of the cleansing in order for them to come up to the level of Islam. And so this is what he's saying, that وَيُزَكِّيهِمْ وَيُعَلِّمُهُمُ الْكِتَابَ, and he teaches them the book, meaning the Qur'an, and the wisdom. And then the next verse, verse number 3, it says وَآخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ لَمَّا يَلْحَقُوا بِهِمْ, and Allah has sent the Prophet to other people from them who you have not yet met. And this is وَآخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ, and he sent this, the Prophet has been sent to people that you've not met, meaning the Sahabas have not met the people who are going to come or who are from other places. So the Sahabas were sitting with the Prophet ﷺ, the people who are around him in Medina. They're being told that this Qur'an has been sent and this Prophet has been sent to people that you've not yet met. وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. And Allah is the Aziz, is the mighty, and Hakim is the wise. ذَلِكَ فَضْلُ اللَّهِ يُؤْتِيهِ مَن يَشَاءُ. This is Allah's grace, and He grants it to whom He wishes. That means Allah sending a prophet and sending the wisdom and the hikmah and the book. This is all the fadl of Allah. It's all the bounty of Allah, and He gives it to whom He wills. Wallahu dhul fadlil azim. And Allah is the possessor of immense grace. Allah is the possessor of fadl, of immense. Azim means untold. Azim, immense grace. Allah is the possessor of that. So it says that Allah has sent His Holy Prophet ﷺ to teach people and to purify them spiritually. This is the function of the prophets and the teachers, to teach and to purify spiritually. This is why there is such a big role of spiritualism in Islam. You cannot deny the role of spirituality. Many people, they have gone, they've taken a literal translation of the Qur'an. They take literal meanings and they lose the meanings of the meanings behind the meanings. That means of actually spiritually cleansing yourself and becoming a complete human being. So this is what the function of the Prophet was, and this is what these verses are telling us. So they begin with, Surah Jumm'ah begins with by saying, whatever is in the heavens and the earth glorifies Allah. So we know that everything on the heavens and the earth, they praise Allah. They do this to speak in their own ways. And then it says that Allah enumerates His attributes. And when He says He is the sovereign, the king, and the interpretation of Al-Malik, Al-Quddus are explained in Surah Al-Hashr. Allah then He also says He is Al-Aziz and Al-Hakim. And these two attributes are repeated in various verses in the Qur'an. Aziz, that He is the mighty, and Hakim, He is full of wisdom. And Aziz means He is the most mighty. It also means that Allah is the one who possesses all true honor and respect. And mention of these attributes reminds us, human beings, that Allah has the might to apprehend any sinner and none can escape from Him. So that's what is reminding us of His might. In addition to this, everything that Allah does is full of wisdom. And everything He instructs us to do, people to do it dutifully, carried out, because there is wisdom behind it, even though we may not understand it. So there is wisdom behind every single command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And every act that we carry out in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is wisdom in that. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us by these names of His favors upon us, which are extremely great. And He has bestowed them as favors. So the first one is that He expressed in this verse, it says that He sent among the unlettered nation, meaning the Arabs, a prophet from themselves who recites the verses to them. Now, if you think about that, they were unlettered people. That means they didn't have a culture of reading and writing, which gives you formal education. They didn't have that culture, and yet Allah's favor was that amongst them He sent a prophet. So subhanAllah, that was the first favor that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned. And then He recites, what does He do? The Prophet, he recites his verses to them. He purifies them. Means this untutored Prophet, he has millions of literate people follow him even today. And this is the fadl of Allah. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these verses, He's telling us that he describes the Prophet, and then he says that he recites the verses, and he purifies them, and he purifies the human souls from all types of evil qualities. Even today, there is a system of purification that we can go through that helps us to become the highest levels of humanity. It's not enough to just pray and just to do al-salah. The shaitan prayed a lot. If you think about it, technically, the shaitan was one of the greatest worshippers in the heavens, and this is how he got his status. So even the shaitan prayed, but what did it lead to? It led to arrogance, and this was his fall. So even humans, if we do not spiritually cleanse ourselves and do spiritual work on ourselves spiritually and clean our hearts and develop, then we could come into that category of just being worshippers who are arrogant and who have not worked on their inner selves and have not risen to the highest levels of humanity, which the Prophet ﷺ came to make us do. But this verse is very important to understand what he says, that the Prophet ﷺ, he purifies them, because purification comes from work on oneself, work on one's heart. The fourth quality he mentions is that he teaches them the book and wisdom. So the book refers to the Qur'an, as the Mufassirin have said, and the wisdom refers to the understanding of the Qur'an. So the wisdom refers to teaching people the words of the Qur'an and the meanings of the words and the interpretations of the verses. So this is what the wisdom means, looking behind these verses and understanding what they mean. And Allah further states in these verses that without doubt, they, the Arabs, were in clear deviation before this. So this means that before the Prophet was sent, they were immersed in sin, and they worshipped idols, they engaged in murder, infanticide, especially girls, and other types of sin. Like openly they would sin. And the Reformation began with the coming of the Prophet. And we can see this, that any person from this we learn that any person who takes hold of the Prophet's teachings and they practice the Sunnah, they will start to reform. So if you want to change yourself, yes, this is a tip. If you want to change yourself, you want to get rid of the vices that are inside you. And we can talk about this because this is Ramadan. Ramadan brings up the heat inside us. So if we have the vices of greed and arrogance and pride and lust and all other kinds of wrath, that if somebody gets very, very angry and they have wrath inside them, all of these, the deadly sins as they call, they have to be, a person has to go through the reformation. They have to work on their heart to be able to clean themselves, because these are diseases of the heart. And when the heart is diseased, as the Prophet told us, then the whole body becomes diseased. And this is actually, according to this philosophy, this is also the causes of physical sicknesses. That when the heart gets sick, then it leads to physical ailments, like physical meaning, like diseases of, let's say, the kidney and the actual physical diseases. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. And this is why cleansing of our heart is so important. Ramadan is a purification in itself, and that does much of the purification. But to do very precise purification, to rid ourselves of jealousy and hatred and arrogance and pride and everything else, the greed, the lust, and rage, and all of these things that we are suffering from. These are the diseases of the heart, and the Prophet came to purify us. So this is giving us an indication of where we should look if we want to do that purification. And he said that when the message of Islam transcended beyond the Arabian Peninsula, non-Arabs accepted the Quran Hadith. They memorized it, they mastered it, and even began writing books on tafsir and laws of the Qur'an, and they took the message to others. And so the message initially came to, it came to the Arabs, but then it extended out. And if you look at Islamic history, you'll see how it came out of Arabia, and it went to all the way up to Europe, Spain, and Andalus, and it went to Asia, traveled across Asia, and this is why we see that the message of Islam is now a stronghold in so many parts of the world, which are very far and remote from Arabia itself. And so in this verse, the Prophet was, when Allah refers to the non-Arabs, when he says, Allah also sent the Holy Prophet to other people from them, whom they, the Arabs, have not yet met. He is the mighty and the wise. And it said that the Arabs, they read the Qur'an, they have very good recitation, but it is people outside of Arabia who actually interpret it. This is why some of the best interpretations actually come from outside of Arabia. Even today, you'll see that there are Malaysia, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, these places, Marrakesh, Africa, Mauritania, these places in South Africa recently are cradles and places of knowledge. And these are non-Arabs who have taken the mantle of Islam. And it says that Abu Hurairah reports that when this verse of Surah Jumm'ah was revealed, the companions of the Prophet, Sahaba, asked the Holy Prophet who the people were whom they have not yet met. When the question was repeated 3 times, the Prophet placed his hand on Sayyidina Salman al-Farsi, who was of Persian origin. This is Hadith al-Bukhari. So this denotes that he was among the people whom the Arabs had not yet met with the message of Islam. So Salman al-Farsi was Persian, so he was not Arab. So when the Sahabas asked, who are these people that we've not met? So the Prophet put his hand on Salman al-Farsi, that meaning this is the one. Thereafter, the Holy Prophet said, if belief was by the Thuraya, that means the constellation of the stars, there would be people from among them, the Persians, who would acquire it there. It's Hadith al-Bukhari. That means that these people, they, if belief was from the constellation of the stars, then these people would have taken it, right? They would have acquired it. They would have taken this knowledge. So the Prophet indicating to Salman al-Farsi, meaning he was a foreigner, so it means all foreigners, all non-Arabs by extension. So we see that the Persians did take the knowledge of the Qur'an and the Sunnah, but then these places like Iraq, Iran right now, they succumb to the Shia beliefs. Then Allah chose other nations to serve Islam, all of which have given Allah rendered excellent service to the religion. And you see that it spread eastwards. So from Arabia, it spread to Asia Minor, and it came to these places like Imam Bukhari is from, where his birthplace is Bukhara, and to Middle Asia. And you'll see the steppes where all these Muslims are, and then it spread all the way to Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. And there are mosques all the way in India where they date them back to the time when the Prophet was alive. So that they were built at that time. They actually dated to that time. So there's a possibility that during the Prophet's life, or very close to that, there were Sahabas who migrated. Maybe they were traders, travelers, and they migrated back to India and they made masjids there. So we can see that this is an indication to how Islam is going to spread. And it refers to all of the non-Arabs over here. And this belief is Allah's grace, which He grants to whomever He pleases. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying after that verse that this belief is Allah's favor and He gives it to whomever He wills. It's not necessary that the Arabs are always going to hold it or they're going to hold the best of it. And there is an indication, when all these places known as Sham, like Jordan, Syria, Palestine, or Iraq, Iran on the other side, all of these places where war has spread, the Muslims became very weak at that time, and Islam became very strong in other places. Islam became very, very prominent in other places. So that's one that is saying that it's Allah's grace that He can give it to whoever, to whomever He pleases, and that Allah is the possessor of immense grace. And there's also another thing here, that if we do not look after and value what we have, then Allah will take it away from us and He will give it to other people. And we see this all of the time. It's a sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that when a ni'mah is not given its due and is not looked after, then He takes it away and it is given to another people. So here there is also an us that we should value what we have. When Allah has given us the Qur'an, when He has given us the beautiful belief, then we should value it and we should make it the most prominent in our lives. It shouldn't be an extension or something on the side that we do, that on Friday we go to pray. This is also it's worthy to mention here that some people who only pray on Fridays, Jumm'ah to Jumm'ah, they'll only go to the masjid one time in the week. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that this is a belief and it's a bounty from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you should hold it tight. Allah has given it to you. Verse 5. He says, مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ حُمِّلُوا التَّوْرَاةَ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَحْمِلُوهَا كَمَثَلِ الْحِمَارِ يَحْمِلُ أَسْفَارًا. The analogy of those who were charged with bearing the Torah and then failed to bear it is like that of a donkey carrying books. So the example of those people who were given the Torah and then they failed to bear it, لَمْ يَحْمِلُوهَا, that means miluha, means that they fail to bear it, means that they fail to act upon its injunctions and to take care of it as they should have. It is like that of a donkey carrying books. And vile is the analogy of the people who falsify Allah's verses. So they falsify Allah's verses. Allah does not guide the unjust nation. Wallahu la yahdi al-qawma adh-dhalimin. So this is being told to those people, and like we mentioned earlier, that these verses came down towards the end of the strongholds of the Jews. And the Prophet had been preaching to them all this time, and they themselves had found the Prophet in their books, and they had awaited the last Prophet. But because it did not suit their means, and because of the changes they would have to make, their hearts would not accept the Prophet. And so they were being told that the books that you are carrying, the Torah that you are carrying, and the example of those people who are carrying the Torah and then they fail to enact its principles is like of the donkey carrying books. And this, by extension, is for anybody who, if you just read the books and you do not practice on them and you're not able to translate them into action and into good for the people, then it's like a donkey carrying books. And so vile is the analogy of the people who falsify Allah's verses. Now this is specifically those people, this analogy also is specific to them who falsify Allah's verses, and Allah does not guide the unjust nation. Then it says, say, O Jews, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ هَادُوا, is say, O Jews, if you think that you are Allah's friends, right? إِنْ زَعَمْتُمْ أَنَّكُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ لِلَّهِ مِنْ دُونِ النَّاسِ فَتَمَنَّوُا الْمَوْتَ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. That if you think that you are Allah's friends and others are not, then wish for death if you are truthful. Then it says, they will never wish for death because because of the deeds that their hands sent for. And Allah SWT is challenging them here because they used to claim that we are the special chosen people and we are the awliya, we are the friends of Allah. So Allah is challenging them in these verses that if you are indeed the friends of Allah, then you should wish for death. You shouldn't be on this earth. This earth is not good enough for you. You should wish for death and return back to Allah and be with you. So then Allah is saying that they will never wish for death. And it says they shall never wish for death because of the deeds that their hands have sent for. So they won't wish for death because why? Because of the deeds that they have done. Allah does not guide the unjust nation. Say, verily, the death that you flee from shall certainly find you. Thereafter you shall be returned to the knower of the unseen and the seen, and he will inform you of what you used to do. So tell them that death will certainly find you. You cannot cheat death. It will find you sooner or later, and then you will return back to the knower of the unseen and the seen, and he will inform you of what you used to do. So the analogy is given in these verses of the Jews who are told that it's futile to flee from death. So that means that these verses talk about the sorry religious position of the Jews and this terrible plight they are destined to suffer in both worlds if they do not practice what Allah has given to them. And the Jews, as we know, are the descendants of the Yaqub alayhi salam, and whose title was Israel, and they are known as the Bani Israel. And both the prophets Musa and Isa alayhi salam, two of the famous prophets who are their descendants. And Allah gave both Musa and the Torah with the detailed laws for the Bani Israel. And many of them did learn the Torah and practice its injunctions. And then Allah also gave Isa alayhi salam a book as well. And so initially the Jewish scholars practiced the Torah and enjoined people to do the same. However, they began to neglect the injunctions of Torah, and they started making changes in the Torah. And when they began to do this, they no longer remained worthy of the bearers of the Torah. This is why it says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the analogy of them who was charged with bearing the Torah. And he says that the analogy is like that of carrying a donkey carrying books. That their function is just with the book. They're more concerned with the book than they are with its message. And vile is the analogy, it's a horrible analogy of the people who falsify Allah's verses. And Allah does not guide the unjust nation. So if a nation becomes unjust, then Allah will not guide them. So all this is mentioned. There's a lot of detail about this in Surah Al-Baqarah. It says that the Jews, they had the Torah, but they perpetrated many villainy against the prophets. They killed many of the prophets. They rejected the prophethood of the Prophet Muhammad, and they even attempted to assassinate him on a few occasions. So this they did even though they realized that the Prophet Muhammad was the final prophet described in the scriptures. And despite this, they maintained that they were Allah's friends, and none others enjoyed this privilege. So, like in Surah Jumm'ah, it says that they say that we are the children of Allah and His loved ones. So, in addition to this, they used to say that the bounties of the hereafter are reserved for us exclusively. So, the Jews, they say that they were chosen in this world, and in the hereafter they will have Allah's bounties. So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to them that if they think that they are the friends of Allah and others are not, then they should wish for death. Because why are they laboring in this world? This world is not for them. It's better to leave and proceed to heaven where they will have no difficulties at all. And since death is the gateway to the hereafter, they ought to have a speedy death so that they can reach the hereafter more quickly. Right? So this verse makes it clear that their claim to be Allah's friends is false. and that they fear punishment for the disbelief and other sins that they carry out. That's why they will not ask for death. Right? So, what about Muslims asking for death? Right? Is it like a criterion? Is death a criterion for truth and falsehood? So in reply to this, we say, first, we understood that the Jews were asked to wish for death because they claimed that they were the beloved friends of Allah and they would be the ones who would enter heaven. As for Muslims, to dislike death is a natural feeling. However, where Muslims are prohibited to wish for death because it's best for them to continue living. And this is an important topic these days because there's so many people who seek voluntary death, or they want to control their living and the dying. And a few countries are now legalizing this what they call assisted death, and many people even travel to a certain country to die like this. For Muslims, that is not allowed because the life and death is in the hands of Allah. When Allah chooses to give death, then we take the death. Gladly we take the death then. And for a good person, staying alive is best because they get the opportunity to carry out more good deeds and to improve their position in the hereafter. So they get to be, they can do better good deeds, and they will in the akhirah they will have a better position, inshallah. So the longer you live on earth, the more you'll be able to pray to Allah, the more tasbih you'll be able to do, the more salah you'll be able to do, inshallah. This is why a believer should always ask to remain healthy to the end of their life, to remain healthy and active, and they should make it so that they can remain active and healthy, so that they can live a good life right to the last moment, and they can be praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And very quickly over here, it's a big debate, but you can carry on the discussion yourselves that what about when life on earth becomes very difficult to live, like if there are trials and tribulations and hardships, then one should turn to Allah and figure out a way to live in that they are preparing for the hereafter. That's the solution, that they should figure out, simplify their life so that they just preparing for the hereafter, and they should immerse themselves in the preparation of going back to Allah, because sooner or later the death will come to them. They don't need to seek out death, the death will come. But in that grace waiting period, they should make themselves busy. And the example of that is, supposing your flight, you're waiting in transit, and when you've traveled, you know that sometimes the transit time is very long. But if the time is long or short, you still plan it in that manner. So for example, if your transit is like 16 hours compared to 2 hours, you're going to spend those 16 hours differently than you're going to spend the 2 hours. So if you are in a transit, and all of us human beings are in transit, we're in transit to go into our next life, then what we should be doing is we should be using that time as though we are in transit. Not that now I'm stuck here, this is my life. If we were to, our life in transit has been extended. For example, you're told, instead your flight has been delayed for another 5 hours. So you don't, after you hear that, you adjust yourself immediately. You say, then let's go and have something to eat, and we'll go and pray, and we'll go another 2 hours. So maybe the museum at this airport, we'll go and visit that museum, or we'll do something else. We'll call our loved ones and let them know. So you make a plan. So in the same way, that's what we should do in this world. That we're not stuck in this world. We're not going to be here forever. If we are in transit, then make a good plan. How can I utilize these years very, very productively. Like I utilize my youth very productively, or if you did, or the middle age very productively, then I utilize this time very productively as well. What can I do? How can I maximize my time and my space and my energy so that it works for me in the hereafter? You become like an accountant with your time and your resources that you are maximizing every moment that is working for your hereafter. It's constantly working, even when you're sleeping, it's working for you. So we have to start. This is all a mindset. When your mindset moves, then everything else will move. And the depression and the listlessness and the sadness and everything will lift. So it's about making a mindset. So we digress, but let's go back to this. It says that it should be borne in mind that some Jews had held the opinion that they would enter hell for a short time, and the Quran mentions this. They would say the fire will touch us only for a limited number of days. So the verses under discussion do not apply to such Jews, but only to those who believe that they would enter heaven immediately after dying. That means as a group who believe that as soon as they die, no matter what they've done, they will enter heaven. That death is that gateway to heaven. That's what they believe. And it says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that verily the death that you flee shall for certainly find you. So the death of every person has been, and none can escape disappointment. It says in another verse that even if you hide in lofty towers, you are to go into a tower and hide inside there, even then death will find you. If you become incognito, and supposing a person was to go into a submarine and go into the depths of the ocean trying to hide from death, even then death will find you. So death will find you anywhere. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that. And those who die as disbelievers are destined for hell, irrespective of how long they live. And despite knowing them, each of them, the Jews wishes that he is granted a life of 1,000 years. Even the fact that he is granted this life of 1,000 years would not save him from punishment. This is why there is such a big industry of pushing life and prolonging life. We see they do this with cryonics. Are they doing it with medicine? Are they trying to prolong life? But we know that life Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, we can't live a single breath more. Forget a single second, a single breath. We cannot live more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to us. And so these verses from 1 to 9 are about mentioning about the context of it was about in Medina, the Prophet was giving dawah to the Jews, and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling them about how they behave towards their book and what their attitudes are towards Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that you're not the exclusive friends of Allah, and you don't have privileges, you're not the chosen people, but the chosen people will be those who follow Allah's commands. Verse 9, it says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع. O you who believe, when the adhan is called out for salah on the day of Jummah, then hasten towards Allah's remembrance and leave trading. This is best for you if you but knew. So when the adhan is called, then go and pray the salah. And when the salah is finished, فَإِذَا قُضِيَتِ الصَّلَاةُ فَانتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَابْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ وَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. So when the salah has been completed, spread out and seek from Allah's bounty and remember Allah abundantly so that you may be successful. Right. So it says this verse is this is an injunction. It's a hookup that's being given that as soon as the adhan is called out, then we should proceed to the Jummah. So these verses express that the Jummah is fard in nature. This is fard on the Friday for the men to pray
it's for them. And Allah says, "Oh, you believe that Adhan is called after Salah on the day of Jummah, then hasten towards Allah's remembrance and leave trading." So this first khutbah that is given is referred to as Allah's remembrance. And this commands Muslims not to delay in presenting themselves on the Jummah Salah. And there's so many hadith about this too. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even put virtues in it, that the person who comes first for the Jummah, they will get this many reward and this much reward. There's even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it like that so that people would hasten and go quickly for the Jummah and wait for it. And then mentioning the trade here, it's general, it's generic for any occupation. That an occupation should not deter from responding to the call of the adhan, so the call of the prayer. So whatever one's occupation is, for example, a doctor, that if a surgeon, for example, is doing very important work, but their occupation should not deter them. That's why you see that Muslims, they block out the Jummah time. They won't take, unless an extreme dire need, but they will not take appointments at that time because the Jummah is exclusively for Allah. And so it says the command to leave trading is merely an example of an occupation. It should not prevent anybody from presenting themselves to the Jummah Salah. And sometimes people hesitate. This is our human nature that we hesitate when we have a worldly gain. So even that is taken away here. So businesses are closed for the Jummah Salah, and we see in Muslim countries that the whole country comes to a standstill for the Jummah prayer. And generally in Muslim countries, there are holidays on the Friday. This is why Allah makes it clear that it's best for you if you but knew. Now, during the time of the Prophet, only one adhan was called out for the Jummah Salah, and this was called out after the Imam had already alighted the minbar pulpit. And during those times, people would be present in the masjid before the adhan, and there may also have been only a few who arrived after hearing the adhan. This was the state during the Khilafah of Abu Bakr and Umar. Now, when Uthman became the Khalifa, the number of Muslims grew considerably. The Ummah was growing. So he therefore initiated another adhan that was called out in the trading area further from the masjid in a place called Zohra. It was from this time that the first adhan was called out. So scholars state that a person should hasten to the masjid from the time that his first adhan is called out. And this is why we have two adhans in the Jummah as well. And the Ummah accepts this act of Sayyidina Uthman because he was among Khulafai Rashidin. And the Prophet explicitly mentioned you should steadfastly hold on to my practices and the practices of the rightly guided Khalifs. And this is why in most countries you will have two adhans, but in some places you will have one adhan. Now, the virtues of the Jummah Salah, the Abu Hurairah that narrates that the Prophet said, the angels stand at the doors of the masjid on the day of Jummah. They record the name of the person who arrives first for the Jummah Salah. Thereafter, the name of the person who arrives second. In this manner, they record each person's name as he arrives in the masjid. The person who leaves for the Jummah Salah arrives receive the reward of sacrificing a camel. These are the first people to arrive. The one who arrives after him shall have the reward of sacrificing a cow. The next person will receive the sacrificing a sheep. The next of a fowl, and the next of giving an egg in charity. So once the Imam comes out to ascend the minbar pulpit, the angels fold up their records and listen to the khutbah, and this is recorded in Bukhari and Muslim. So many people don't even get the eggs. Why? Because they're running to the masjid once the khutbah has started. So the etiquette of Jummah is to arrive before the khutbah starts, before the Imam goes on the pulpit. And all the rewards that we mentioned are for the people who arrive before. So Jummah is such a special time that Muslims have to prepare for it, and in the Sunnah, you'll see that there are so many etiquettes of bathing and doing the other sunnahs of cutting the nails, the hair, etc., etc., and becoming very pure and applying perfume and coming very clean and pristine, wearing the best clothes that one has, so that you could present yourself in the congregation of the Muslims. So indeed, it's a very special time, and they're told to dress every time they go to the masjid. Muslims, they're told to dress and make perfume so that they will not give each other harm from the smell. So they're told to wash up. So even if a person is working, supposing they're doing a labour job, or they're doing where they get hot and sticky, then they're told to wash up and clean up and change and then go to the masjid. These are the etiquettes that we have for the masjid generally, but particularly on the Friday, become more pertinent. Then Abu Hurairah reports that the Prophet said, the person who performs wudu and performs it properly proceeds to the masjid for the Jumm'ah Salah, listens attentively to the khutbah and remains silent, then his sins will be forgiven from that Jumm'ah until the next Jumm'ah, and a further 3 days in addition. Look at how Allah keeps on cleansing us, Allah keeps giving us chances. This is because every good deed is rewarded at a minimum of tenfold. The one who touches, plays with pebbles, or anything else has engaged in futility, i.e., he has forfeited his rewards because his act retains lack of concern for the khutbah. And this hadith is mentioned in Muslim. So, there are other hadith mentioning the ghusl, applying oil to the hair, applying perfume, brushing the teeth, the siwak, wearing the best clothes, walking to the masjid, and sitting as close as possible to the imam. So these are the etiquettes. And then listening to the khutbah, one is not permitted to even indicate to another person to stop talking, because this will disturb one's concentration. So we have to be so silent in the khutbah, because it's part of the salah. Prophet said, if you tell someone who is talking to be silent, you are perpetrating an act of futility. This is according to Bukhari. So you see that people, they each other, they turn around, they make these noises, and you're disturbing everybody else. So if everybody understood that when they're in the masjid, they should be quiet and listen to the khutbah, then there won't be any noise. And these are etiquettes that are not just common sense, they're actually mentioned in the hadith. And Abu Hurairah reports that the Prophet said, the best day is the day of Jummah, and Adam was created on this day, he was entered into heaven on this day, and taken out of heaven on this day. Judgment day shall take place on the day of Jummah. This is mentioned in Muslim. And there's a warning against the neglecting the Jummah Salah. So who is it not compulsory on? It's not compulsory for a sick person, musafir, a traveler, a woman, and a slave to present themselves for the Jummah Salah. And the mature male who is not suffering from illness, it is foreign on them to go to the masjid and pray the Jummah Salah. And Abdullah ibn Umar narrates that Prophet once stood on the minbar and said, people should refrain from neglecting the Jummah Salah, otherwise Allah shall seal their hearts and they will be included among the neglectful ones. In fact, if a person neglected 3 Jummahs out of laziness, then Allah will put a seal on the heart of the person. This is from Mishkat. And Jummah is also a time when the du'as are accepted. So if you go to Jummah Salah and that time, leave all our duties and focus on the Jummah. Du'as are also accepted on Fridays on the Asr Salah between Asr and Maghrib. This is from the Tirmidhi. Now there's virtue of reciting the Surah Jumm'ah on the Fridays, and it said that anybody who recites the Surah on the Friday should have light until the following Friday. To have the light, it says that one is that their graves will be illuminated, and second is that the heart will be illuminated. So all the deeds that they will do and illuminated heart will guide them towards the Muhammad to doing the right deeds. and to do all the jobs will be held those until the following Friday. And Prophet also enjoined that Surah Jumm'ah should be recited every Friday as well. It's very common to recite Surah Kahf, but also Prophet mentioned Surah Jumm'ah too. And also on Friday, there should be a lot of recitation on Salawat of the Prophet. This is mentioned in Mishkat, is from the hadith that we should Salawat of the Prophet. Then Allah says, disperse in the land and seek Allah's bounty. Now, this is not a command to do that. Everybody does not have to go out and seek Allah's bounty after the Jummah, but it says that it's permissible to do that. It's permissible to do that and to go out after the Jummah Salah, go about this business, whatever that is. Now, it says, remembrance of Allah is the greatest dhikr. So even whilst you're going about the business, one should remember Allah. This is why when we go to the marketplace, we read what is known as the kalima tawheed, la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu lahul mulku wa lahul hamd yuhyi wa yumeet biyadihi al-khayr wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. And there's another version of it too, but we read this kalima so that it's said in there's a hadith in Tirmidhi and Ibn Majah, and Prophet mentioned that the person who recites the above remembrance, the dhikr, in the marketplace should have 1 million good deeds recorded in his account. So in addition to this, 1 million of his sins will be forgiven, and the rank will be elevated 1 million stages, and a mansion will be provided. And this is mentioned in Tirmidhi and Ibn Majah. So this is Kalima Tawheed, and these phrases I just read, they are, you can memorize them, and every time you go shopping, basically, if you read this, then you also doing the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the fadilah of this, whenever a Prophet recommended something, it wasn't just because, you get the reward for it, or benefits of it, and you'll be saved from the evils of the marketplace. And there are many evils. As we know, the first evil would probably be that you're overspending and wasting money. But beyond that, there are so many evils, and be protected from that if you read this kalima. Now, the last verse, it says, when they see trade of futility, they hurry to it, and they leave you standing. Say, that which is with Allah is better than futility and trade. Allah is the best of providers. So it's rebuking those people who left the khutbah sermon to gather around the trade caravan. So at that time in Medina, on one Friday, a trade caravan of camels suddenly appeared, and the caravan was laden with food and drink. And at that time, there was a shortage of food and drink. So when the Sahaba heard of the arrival of the caravan, and this was announced by the people that it belonged to, they played the drums because that's what they would do. That the caravan had arrived. So the people, they all left the masjid while the khutbah was going on, and they went together around the caravan. Now, eventually, there were only 12 people, and he said that there were 12 men and 1 woman who stayed from the Sahabas in the masjid. And then this verse was revealed that when they see trade of futility, they hurry to it and leave you standing. Say that which is with Allah is better than futility and trade. Allah is the best of providers. So don't worry about your risk. This is for, by extension, this is for everybody. That time in Jummah, don't be, people. We have a slogan now: time is money. So you'll see that the people, even if the khatib goes over 2-3 minutes in the khutbah, people start going up and down. That we have to get back to work. So. Here we're being told even that has been built in. Allah anticipated that would happen too, and that we would be, as He knows our nature better than anyone. So even that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that if you have been patient, and what is with Allah is better for you. So if you have stayed and you are patient whilst the Jummah is going on and the khutbah is going on, then that is much better for you, because Allah is the provider. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the provider of everything. And in Bhagavad Gita, it's written that the Prophet asked the Prophet's companions, Sahaba, how many of them were left in the masjid. He informed the Prophet, the 12 men and one woman stayed behind. The Prophet said to them that if they had not remained behind with him, stones from the sky would have rained on the people. So subhanallah, even though there was a shortage of food in Medina at that time, and prices were very high to get to it, they thought it was okay to leave. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, no, this khutbah is so important, you have to wait until the khutbah is over. And so this came down as a command for the rest of humanity and the rest of time as well. So when it says that what is with Allah is better than futility and trinity, it tells us that listening to the khutbah and performing the Jumm'ah attracts ample blessings to one's provision from Allah. Look at that. Allah SWT even put a blessing into it, that if you go and listen to the khutbah, then this in itself will attract your risk. This in itself will bring you the risk that you need, subhanAllah. And this is much better than the commodities of this world. Like people, they go running to the sales and miss their salah, for example. Or they spend hours and hours online now looking for bargains, and they're not doing the praying, but the praying will give you much more risk than anything that you will save in your online hours searches for the products. So people, we have to understand that Allah is the best of providers, that Allah created all forms of sustenance, and He's created the means to acquire this sustenance. And everything that one receives is because Allah wills it so. And even if someone gives something to another person, it's because Allah put the inspiration in their heart to do that. Now, the ruling we get from this, the number one is the khutbah sermon of the Jummah Salah is a condition of the validity of the Salah. So it's therefore imperative that the khutbah precedes the Salah. So the khutbah that's done, usually in Arabic, and this one has to be done in Arabic, is the one that is part of the Salah. And if 2 rakats of Salah are performed on a Friday afternoon without the khutbah, it will not be regarded as a Jummah Salah. So you can't just read the Salah, even a small khutbah has to be done. Now, the second ruling is the practice of the Prophet to recite Surah Jumm'ah in the first rakah of Jummah Salah and Surah Jumm'ah in the second rakah. And it's also been reported that the Prophet used to recite Surah Al-A'la, the first rakah and Surah Al-Ashiyah in the second rakah of both the Eid and the Jummah Salahs. And whenever the Eid and Jummah Salahs occurred in the same day, the Prophet used to read Surah Al-A'la and Surah Al-Ashiyah in both these Salahs. And just to mention, in the Prophet's time, initially, the Salah came first and then the khutbah came. That's why the people all ran when the khutbah was going on, because they already prayed. They thought, okay, it's okay now. We'll go to the caravans. So then after this, it was switched around. So the khutbah comes first and then the Salah comes in Jummah. And Eid Salah, as you know, is the opposite way that we do Salah and then we do the khutbah. So, I think this is beautiful surah of Surah Jumm'ah. We should, every moment on Jumm'ah is very special. We should actually prepare, we should do all our jobs and keep our Jumm'ah free for worship. This is a tradition amongst Muslim communities and amongst Muslim countries, so that we can avail ourselves and also get the serenity of the Jumm'ah and all the benefits Allah SWT has put for us. Just like we read that Allah SWT has put the benefit in so many things, in the preparation, the actual Jumm'ah, the surahs that we read, the people that we meet, the congregation that we have. Everything has it's a spiritual day of our week, and if you do it properly, then the rest of the week will go well too, inshallah. There's wisdom in everything that Allah SWT has given to us. We pray that Allah SWT avail us of this wisdom and give us, make us the people who practice on it. This is sincerity, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.